Hello and welcome to a very dry video about layer management in Clip Studio Paint. I've been using Clip Studio Paint Pro for about 6 years now, and yeah, just had some tips I thought I would share. Something you should note is that I use Clip Studio Paint Pro version 1. Yeah, I'm on the old one. Yeah, these tips may or may not work in other versions of Clip Studio Paint, and heck, some of them, I don't know, might work in Photoshop. But yeah, I cannot guarantee it. Anywho, on with the tips. So firstly, if you keep wondering if a layer is blank, making it visible and invisible, trying to figure out if there's anything actually on it, you can just control click the layer and that will make a selection of the alpha on that layer. That means that if you get a pop-up saying that no selection was created, that means there's nothing on your layer, which means you're safe to delete it. Tip number 2 is color code your layers. So I know in an ideal world we would all have, named layers that have sensical names. But sometimes, you're doing quick drawing, you don't really have, or at least you don't think you have time to name a layer. And yeah, in that case you could just color code it. We're all a bit lazy sometimes. And yeah, so color coding a layer takes like 2 clicks. So you just select the little drop down and choose color. Personally, I've come up with a system that I've used. I usually use blue for line work, orange for flat colors, purple for shade, and yellow for lighting and effects. Tip number 3 is use layer folders if you're not already. If your layer folders are kind of messing with your blend modes on your layers, you can just create a folder, but choose the blend mode of through, and that will retain whatever blend mode information those layers within the folder have, but it'll just visually keep them in a folder, which is very useful. Tip number 4, if you need to temporarily deactivate a layer mask, you can just drag it onto a blank layer for a second and then, drag it back when you need. I can't think of a specific scenario that you'd need this tip in, but I swear I've used it. I've done this like dozens of times. Tip number 5, I guess this is more of a color picking tip, but I don't think I could make a video about tips on color picking. But nonetheless, if somewhere in your layer sandwich there's like a color you need, like for example, I do this a lot with like shading, but to, find that color you would need to like hide a bunch of layers above it and like change some blend modes. What you can do is copy that layer and just paste it into a new document and then just pick the color from there. And tip number 6, if you really are in a pickle with your layers and you just need to, see what layer something you can see is on, just use the object select tool. If you have like an effect layer going over the whole image, it will select that, but you can gradually hide things until you're selecting the layer you want. This is not an efficient method, but again, if you're in a pickle, that's how you can find a layer. And bonus tip number 7, just use less layers. I think it's probably a good drawing exercise. It's something I've done before, is just trying to make a painting, like a digital painting, just using one layer. And yeah, just see how you like it. And decide, what in your process is actually necessary and what's kind of some fluff you can cut. Yeah, as you can see, this is a digital painting I did that has a lot of layers, but I feel like I easily could have used more if I was less efficient about it. Anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say about layer management in Clip Studio Paint. As I said, I use Clip Studio Paint Pro version 1. And yeah, these tips may or may not work in, programs like Photoshop or other versions of Clip Studio Paint. Yeah, but I'm not sure. Hopefully they should work in other versions of Clip Studio. But anyway, yeah, hope I could help. And yeah, just rename your damn layers.